In 2016, an anti-vaccine documentary called Vaxxed was released to the public. And around that same time, Robert De Niro decided to go full Jenny McCartney when he went on the Today Show to endorse the documentary.
There was a bit of controversy, some headlines at the beginning of this year's festival when it was announced that this film called Vaxxed would be screened at the festival. Later, the festival pulled it. Was it because of the backlash? Were you surprised that people reacted the way that they did?
I was shooting a movie. I was in the middle of a lot of stuff. I think the movie is something that people should see.
I don't think it's a film that people should see. Maybe one day on this channel I'll review it so that you can know how horrible it is without having to watch it.
But definitely there's something to that movie, and there's another movie called Trace Amounts. And there's a lot of information about things that are happening with the CDC, the pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot of things that are not said. I, as a parent of a child who has autism, I'm concerned, and I want to know the truth. And I'm not anti-vaccine. I want safe vaccines.
I don't know, man. Sounds pretty anti-vax to me.
When you get, some people can't get a certain type of shot, and they can die from it. You know, even penicillin. So why should that not be with vaccine, which it isn't?
I think what you're saying here is if some children can be allergic to penicillin and will die from it, then why isn't the same true for vaccines? Well, here's the situation. If your child has a bacterial infection that needs to be treated with antibiotics, and they happen to be allergic to penicillin, then the doctor's just going to give them a different antibiotic that they're not allergic to. The same is true in vaccines. If your child is allergic to one or more of the ingredients in any given vaccine, then a vaccine without those ingredients can be given. In both situations, you would be liable for your child's health if you refuse to get them the proper medication.
I think the film was controversial because people felt that the filmmaker had been discredited.
Even he, I'm not so sure about. At the end of the day, even him.
The filmmaker in question here is a guy named Andrew Wakefield. You could say that he's the one who started this whole vaccines cause autism idea, because in 1998 he published a paper that claimed just that. Except the paper was retracted because he fraudulently manipulated the data, and he got his medical license revoked because he was practicing bad ethics.
But it's another thing. It's the result of, it's not questioning how some people got autism, how the vaccines are dangerous, if not dangerous to certain people who are more susceptible. And nobody seems to want to address that, or they say they've addressed it, and it's a closed issue, but it doesn't seem to be.
It turns out there are people who are more susceptible to injuries from vaccines. And those people happen to be the immunocompromised. Those are individuals who are undergoing cancer treatments and their immune systems are not working correctly, or they have a genetic condition or some other issue that means that they can't get vaccines themselves. All the more reason that we should get vaccinated in order to help protect them.
Because there are many people who will come out and say, no, I saw my kid change like overnight. I saw what happened and I should have done something and I didn't. So there's more to this than meets the eye, believe me.
Is that the experience you had, Robert? Something changed overnight?
My wife says that. I don't remember, but my child is autistic, and every kid is different. But there is something there. There's something there that people aren't addressing.
You're not even sure how close in timing your child's onset of autism was with their vaccinations, and yet you seem very certain that there's something going on. Okay.
Robert, it is nearly consensus in the scientific community that there's no link there. Do you believe that's not true?
I believe it's much more complicated than that. It's much more complicated than that. There is a link, and they're saying there isn't, but there's certain things. There's the obvious one is thimerosal, which is a mercury-based preservative.
I'm sure one day I'll cover in more detail why thimerosal in vaccines is harmless, but for now it doesn't matter, because in 2001, thimerosal was taken out of most childhood vaccinations in the US and many European countries. So, it's not there.
But there are other things there that I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I know because I've seen so much reaction about just let's find out the truth. Let's just find out the truth.
I don't really understand why people say this. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Let's find out the truth. It's like me saying, I don't know. I'm not a car mechanic. Let me find out the truth. But then when I take my car to the garage and they tell me that it needs repairs, I say, I don't believe you.
Some parents, even in this documentary, they say, I knew I shouldn't have done it. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I talked to the doctor, or he's the doctor. I should listen. I should listen. I did it. The next day, imagine how the parent feels.
Yes, Robert, I can understand how a parent might feel. The panic and the guilt and the not knowing that comes with watching your child go through something like that is really nothing to joke about. But the thing is, being anxious or afraid about vaccination, it's not crazy. It's really no different from being anxious or afraid about something like flying. Either situation can seem pretty scary if you overthink it. We all have irrational fears. But the more you understand what goes into those things, the better you can understand your fears for what they are. Irrational. There are many things that can very suddenly go wrong in a child's development during their early years of life, and these things aren't necessarily your fault. With millions of children getting vaccines, it is not surprising that the onset of some of these conditions can coincide or come very close to the timing of their vaccines, so it's easy to correlate them. Despite this apparent correlation, study after study has shown that there is no causative link between vaccines and these serious effects.
The worry is that people who hear those words and wonder about it will then not have their childs vaccinated, which has led to a higher incidence of things like mumps and measles, that kind of thing.
I don't know if those statistics are accurate. I'm not the one to say, but I would question even that.
Oh, come on, Robert. The evidence for measles vaccine preventing measles is staggering. In fact, most people in the world who get measles today are not vaccinated. And yet you insist that you're not an anti-vaxxer. Unreal. Alright, that's going to do it for today. See you next time.